Well, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to follow up on some of the things that Dr. Hawley has been talking, Senator Hawley has been talking about to Mr. Tudor. And, you know, because you're the only witness here today who runs an organization that actually produces electricity. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Uinta County, Wyoming, our Rural Electric Association, where their assigned mission since 1938 is to provide safe, affordable, reliable electricity to their users. It's almost becoming mission impossible with some of the threats that they're facing. So you've stated that investors and insurers around the country, both in the United States and abroad, are putting pressure on electricity producers and doing it to retire coal and natural gas-fired plants prematurely. These institutions pressure cooperatives, investor-owned utilities, and others to replace the plants with weather-dependent wind and solar units. So to what extent have either government policies added to the pressure that you're facing from financial institutions?
It's created a significant fear factor, first of all. These, and it is really kind of this continual battle to try and maintain and protect our assets. The banks basically have told us over the last several years that they will stop providing us lending on coal repairs, coal assets, if we have 25% of our revenue coming from, in our portfolio, from coal. The insurance underwriters, both in the U.S. and Europe, are also telling us the same thing, that they're not going to insure our assets, not all of them, but many of them, again, if we have 25% of our revenue coming from a coal asset. So that's narrowed the number of people we can borrow money from and the number of people that will insure our assets, which makes it more expensive. Anything more expensive is bad for our consumer owners, who are largely rural, low-income customers.
Well, that was it. In terms of how this affects the families that Senator Hawley was talking about, the families, the businesses who need the electricity. Additionally, the Department of Energy is currently revising the efficiency standard for distribution transformers. The proposed standard, as I understand it, would increase the efficiency by only 1/10 of 1 percentage point. I mean, that's negligible improvement. But yet, to meet the standards, that's going to require fundamental changes in manufacturing process for these transformers. So you're going to be hit with all of this. This could jeopardize the availability of components needed to supply the electricity to homes, to businesses across the country. So worse yet, this proposal comes in the middle of an ongoing shortage of these transformers. In your testimony, you said that the proposed standard, quote, is already hindering efforts to increase the number of transformers available. So if the Biden administration proposal becomes a final rule, what impact do you expect that to have?
I mean, this is significant. It's a horrible idea. Let me just state that. And it doesn't move the needle. And there are so many other things that we've talked about today that are so much more important. And today, we can't get large transformers. It's a 3 to 4 year time frame to get a transformer. And everything we've talked about today in terms of infrastructure, transmission, operations, generation, all this stuff requires electricity wire, conduit, poles, transformers. So all this is going to do is slow down that whole process. And then the real question is, we got stuff to fix now. I mean, we have a business to run, and we have to repair and keep basically this equipment up to date. So we have hundreds of millions of dollars that need to be spent just to keep our existing system up to speed. And then when we start talking about adding all these new projects, renewables, that's even more infrastructure needs.
And when you run through this whole list of the things that you would need to relate to, any of it come from China?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.